Sometimes it's a case of chicken and egg. We have to be careful about cause and correlation. In this case, Matt, can we say definitely that this decline in foreign direct investment has to have something to do with the current administration?
Well, definitely means clairvoyancy, and I'm not there. However, what you did have was extraordinary elements of uncertainty that were precipitated by policy. One was, of course, you mentioned the trade, tariffs, wars. The Trump administration, in an unprecedented way in modern times, basically attacked our Asian allies, China in particular, Europe, Mexico, Canada, all across the board, and basically said the multilateral approach isn't working. That's not good for globalization. That's not good for multinational companies. The second thing is, it came at a time when he said, you know what, we're going to cut taxes dramatically, and all those companies are going to take their overseas funds and bring them back to the U.S., and guess what? The European companies, the Asian companies are going to follow suit. It's not happening. And it's not happening because of uncertainty, because the policies together have created a paralysis. Now, how do we know that's true? All of this money, the windfall, has mostly gone into share buybacks. And if you take the biggest company like Microsoft, last year, it spent orders of magnitude more for share buybacks than what it spent for capital expenditures, which is long-term investment, which is the FDI part that you're looking for. Same thing, by the way, Honeywell International did exactly the same thing, more share buybacks. That is typical of American companies, and companies overseas, they're just not interested.
Matt, the last time we saw a massive repatriation of capital to the United States, though, exactly the same thing happened. Why is this Trump-related?
So, we can go back as far as you want, but, there's no history of tax cuts per se of creating long-term investment. And we've had this discussion now for 2 decades. And every time it comes up, people say, you just wait, it's coming. And it never does. And it didn't at the beginning of the new century. We had a tax cut. The U.S., by the way, had a balanced budget, the first balanced budget in 30 years. And that was after a decade of rising foreign direct investment and rising taxes during the Clinton administration. It was almost a straight line. Then we get the tax cut, we get deficits, which CEOs have always said they don't like, and you got decline in foreign direct investment. And this is the first time, the first 2 years of the Trump administration, that we've seen the magnitude of this decline since the George W. Bush administration.
When you talk to European leaders and you talk to European central bankers, the line you get from them is that the reason why the US economy is outperforming at the moment is because of fiscal policy. There is a huge debate taking place over here in Europe about whether or not Europe needs fiscal policy and whether or not that would drive the economy forward. And the example that is cited is the fact that Trump has delivered tax cuts, and that has kept the US economy running significantly hotter than what we've seen here in Europe. We are having the debate over here about whether or not we need that same sort of fiscal policy. In terms of what you're saying, do you think that would be a good idea or not a good idea?
Well, I'm not so sure it's fiscal policy. Remember, Trump inherited the only developed economy in the world to reach record GDP, gross domestic product, in its recovery rebound from the financial crisis and the worst recession since the Great Depression. So the combination of Obama fiscal policy and Federal Reserve quantitative easing got us to the point where the U.S. economy, when Trump was inaugurated, was outperforming and was the only economy in the developed world to outperform everybody else. So it's not like the tax cuts added something that wasn't there. It was already there. This was an economy that was already relatively robust and getting stronger by the day. So it's not clear the tax cuts were even necessary.
Matt, you've spent time traveling the Middle East on many occasions over the decades. I'm curious as to how you read the situation right now in Saudi Arabia with Iran in the mix, the president talking about coming to the aid of our allies, oil prices going higher. Do you see this escalating?
Yeah, this is stunning. First of all, that drones could enter the Saudi Arabian airspace and not be knocked down, and then do the damage that they did, take out 5%, just like that, of the oil, we haven't seen this before. So this is a new element of uncertainty for the Mideast. As far as Trump is concerned, he's got a lot of conflicts, personal and professional. I mean, he does a lot of business personally with the Saudis. He considers them an ally. On the other hand, should we be putting U.S. military in the hands of Saudi Arabia? So all of these questions are yet to be answered, but there are a lot of conflicts. And, anytime you have this kind of uncertainty and disruption, it's not good for markets and it's not good for investment.